Ladies and gentlemen, we are live here today for another edition of NASCAR Chase for the Cup 2005 on the channel. Another full race live stream coming for you guys here today at the Milwaukee Mile. Yes, the Milwaukee Mile. It is a 1 mile short track that is no longer in the NASCAR schedule for any of the top three series, but we will be racing at it here today because it did take place during the 2004 season, hence this video game. It is the Alan Kulwicki 250 at Milwaukee. Like, share, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. We have full race live streams of the realistic broadcast every single day, except for when I'm at the track for the weekend. Of course, for those of you that don't know, I was at Indianapolis this weekend, Saturday for the IndyCar race. Got there about an hour before the IndyCar race started. And then I ended up staying for the Xfinity race afterwards. Went back the next day for the NASCAR Cup Series Verizon 200 on the Indianapolis road course as well. Due to the red flags that happened at the end of the race, it literally took a little over an hour to get the final, literally 2 laps of the race in. For those of you that watched it, so that ended up delaying my arrival time home by a little over an hour too, because I came home right after the race. So we were not able to stream last night. I didn't get home till like 9:30. If we didn't have those, either one of those 2 red flags at the end of the race would have been done just before 4 o'clock, and I would have been home before 8. But unfortunately, that did not end up happening. But we are here today, gonna make it up to you guys. We got a special, not just a doubleheader, but a triple header on the channel today. We got the NASCAR 2005 Chase for the Cup race right here. For the Busch Series, the Alan Kulwicki 250. After this, we're going to have the NASCAR Fantasy Podcast, and that is going to be a fun one. We're going to talk about everything that happened during the Indy Road Course race yesterday, my experience at the racetrack, and much more on that. And then following that, we will have a NASCAR Cup Series race on the NASCAR Heat 5 Career Mode. Yes, at Martinsville. It will be the final race of the round of 8, the penultimate race of the season. We'll see if we can make it to the championship 4 there. So a lot of fun streaming coming on today. Again, like, share, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content as we're about to get into this race. Qualified on the pole with Kevin Harvick, the driver we're racing as this season, was not the fastest in final practice. Ashton Lewis actually was, so we'll see who's going to perform and who will get the W here today. Green flag is in the air. Harvick and Kyle Busch will lead the field to the green. Oh, and Harvick runs a little wide into turn 1, making a tiny bit of contact with Kyle Busch, and as they run both cars wide, somehow Harvick holds onto the lead down the back straightaway. Kyle trying to get in there on the outside lane. He is all over Kevin Harvick's right rear corner panel, but Harvick beats him back to the gas off 4 and will lead the opening lap of the race, getting 5 bonus points. Ashton G, welcome to the stream, by the way. Busch and Harvick, 2 of the contenders for the championship here as we're midway through the season. In fact, after the checkered flag flies in today's race, we'll be exactly halfway through the season. Dwayne Borland trying to work around Kyle Busch right now. They're side by side for second place as Kevin Harvick is slowly starting to pull away from the rest of the field. Borland running a little bit wide into turn 3. Kyle Busch a little out of the groove, and Borland will clear him for second place now. Busch going to try a little bit of a crossover. He ducks low now down the front straightaway. This racetrack is very, very much similar to New Hampshire. Again, it's a 1 mile flat oval with long straightaways and tight corners, almost like an overgrown Martinsville, if you will. As far as the width of this racetrack goes, it's a little bit more narrow down the back straightaway compared to the front straightaway, which is also similar to New Hampshire. The front straightaway here and the front straightaway at New Hampshire fairly equal in width. As far as the back straightaway goes, maybe a little bit more narrow here compared to New Hampshire. You have a lot more grass on the inside of the racetrack down there. But for the most part, this track is pretty wide down the straightaways, tight corners. Race is very, very similar to it. It is an older surface at this time period in NASCAR at Milwaukee versus New Hampshire, so there will likely be a little bit more tire wear in this race than what you would see in the New Hampshire races throughout not only this season, but really all 3 series in this game, with that being said. Borland still holding on to second place after Harvick has led the first 5 laps caution-free now. Harvick and Kyle Busch have had some really good battles for the win in really the last handful, if not more, races. Harvick is set sail right now. After qualifying on the pole, he did change his setup and tighten the car up a little bit from where it was in qualifying in the happy hour session. Ran a little bit of practice before qualifying as well. A little side story. I had actually set this PS2 up, brought it on the road with me to Indy, and I was going to stream on Saturday night. I'll wait for more of you guys to join on in right now. It is an early afternoon race, and it was kind of out of the blue. But I wanted to make it up to you guys today. With not streaming at all over the last couple of days, which I, kind of figured would likely be the case Saturday night at least. The race wouldn't have had those couple red flags. I would have been home before 8. We would have definitely streamed. I didn't get home till 9:30, and I still had to eat. And we were. I still almost did it, but then I was like, oh, well, actually, if I do it, then I'm not going to get the stream done until like almost midnight. That would have been just way too late for you guys. Especially on a Sunday night. Kevin Harvick clearly looking like the fastest car, at least for the short run early in this race. Kyle Busch still has not gotten around Dwayne Borland, though. We'll see if maybe he has anything for Kevin Harvick, but we definitely know Dwayne Borland does not, at least early on. Be interesting to see if this will be a 2-stop race, if it'll be a 1-stop race. We haven't been to New Hampshire yet on this season either, so this is the first flat 1-mile racetrack. We did race at Dover a couple races ago. That was a 1-mile oval, a little bit different than this, obviously. A lot more banking, concrete surface. Lap times early on in this race, though, for Harvick are not as fast as what he ran, not only in practice, but in qualifying as well. Kyle Busch, a couple laps ago, did finally get around Dwayne Borland. It was a 1.4 second lead at one point for Harvick. Well, now that lead is down to about 1.1. Kyle Busch might have something for Kevin Harvick. Harvick's pulling away from everybody else, but it's Busch and Harvick looking like they're going to contend and likely go back and forth throughout this one, as they have for many races over the middle portion of the season. Them two and Bobby Hamilton Jr. in a dead heat for the championship. Even Ron Hornaday, fourth in points, was right there as well, within 100 of the lead until he DNF'd in the last race a few nights ago. Race was back on Friday night at the Levi Strauss Signature Speedway. Harvick just kind of running his own race right now, but Busch is slowly closing in. Lead down to about 0.8 of a second. Harvick's definitely got a little bit of straightaway speed. It seems like Kyle Busch is breaking a lot later into the corners, and that's where it's really starting to close in on Kevin Harvick. Harvick trying to hug maybe a little bit lower exit to the corner to kind of help minimize the gap that Busch is gaining on entry, and Harvick's trying to maybe get that off the X, and that is really what's helping Kevin Harvick's straightaway speed, though, as well, is kind of backing these corners up. But obviously Kyle Busch is been the lone driver, at least early on. It looked like he is actually starting to eat away into that lead a little bit. About a half a second difference between the top two. Kyle Busch is definitely closing in on Kevin Harvick, without a doubt. Harvick couldn't get as low of an exit off turn 2 that time. A little wiggle that time in the center of the corner by Harvick, and kind of up the track he goes. Didn't have to lift any extra there, but Kyle Busch definitely putting the pressure on Kevin Harvick here early on, and we'll see if he may be able to make a pass. Knowing that, again, we are going to be halfway through the season when the checkered flag flies here today at Milwaukee. You know, these guys are going to want all the laps led they can, because that will include bonus points, especially for Kyle, who has not led a lap here early on, versus Harvick is about to lead the first 20. Busch went up the track a little wide in turns 3 and 4, and that 0.2 of a second gap wiped back out to about 0.4 again. But now Harvick goes a little wide into turn 1, so it looks like Busch might be able to close in a tiny bit. He didn't gain all that ground back yet, not quite within striking distance to make the pass into turn 3. A couple good corners, and he's going to be right there. Busch again up the track in 3 and 4. Harvick a little loose off the exit of 4. Stayed in the gas, and now Harvick is a little wide in 1. So it seems like Kyle Busch kind of goes a little wide in turn 3 on the entry, and Harvick's been going a little wide in turn 1 on the entry, at least as far as the last 2 laps are concerned. Harvick trying to protect the bottom. Busch again kind of wash up to the outside a little bit. Look at how much ground he is losing. That's also how he lost second place there in the opening couple laps to Dwayne Borland. Luckily, there's nobody else behind Kyle Busch right now. It's really a 2-car breakaway. There's somebody in third place who has broken away from the rest of the pack right now. Can't tell who that is. It would be fitting if it was Bobby Hamilton Jr., knowing that really all 3 of those guys have just been so strong this season. Almost like the big 3 as far as the Busch Series goes for this 2004 season. Like Kyle Busch was going to enter a little bit lower that time. Harvick slides up the racetrack, and that might be the opening for Kyle Busch to get a run into turn 1. Turn 1 a lot more narrower of an entrance than turn 3, with that pit wall on the inside for about the first third of the corner. And now Busch gets tight in the center of the corner. He goes a little wide off the exit of 2, and Kyle Busch might have used his tires up trying to get to Kevin Harvick after falling 1.4 seconds off the lead before he got back to second place around Dwayne Borland. He cut it down to 0.2 of a second at one point. He was about a half a car length behind Harvick, and now he just can't really put the pressure on him to actually get close enough to make the pass. Seems like when he starts to close in, he slides up the track a little bit. Harvick kind of narrowly gaps him. Harvick is just doing a great job backing these corners up, and Kyle's starting to lose a little bit of ground again. I think he might have used up his tires, which is really unfortunate for him considering we're only 27 laps in. Not even halfway on fuel yet. He's still got half a tire stint to go. It's going to turn into a fuel mileage race. Now, the New Hampshire race this season is going to be 200 laps. This one's 50 miles longer, 50 laps longer. This is 250 laps long, so whatever fuel mileage you're going to see here, although it might be the same as far as laps go, but the pit stops itself is going to be different comparative to New Hampshire a little bit later in the season. Kevin Harvick kind of bottomed out off the exit of turn 2 that time. There were some sparks coming out from under the car. That was strange. Not going to affect him anything, though. Kyle Busch finally didn't go a little... Well, now he pushes a little tight in the center of the corner, it looked like. He actually entered in a lot lower, but he just couldn't hold it all the way through the corner. Right from about the middle off, started slowly sliding up the racetrack. See if he does it again off 2. No, he seems to be gaining ground almost in 1 and 2, but he just loses it right back in 3 and 4. It's where Harvick's better. It seems like Harvick is almost back in the corner up a little bit better into turn 3, getting that drive off he needs to try and gap Kyle Busch. Not that bad that time for Busch. Might be a Busch Series race, but 250 laps on a 1 mile racetrack. Pretty long. Remember, we had a 250 lap race in the last race, but that was on a track that was about a half mile in length. So this being twice the size, it's going to make for a much longer race. The race before that was on a 3/8 mile racetrack, and that was 300 laps. So 50 laps longer, but that track was about a third the size less than this. This track's almost 2/3 of a Dodge Raceway, pretty much. 3 times the size of Dodge Raceway, I should say. A little loose off turn 2 that time. Staying in the gas, though. He's outside of that initial start when he went a tad bit wide in turn 1, he was able to hold on to the lead. And he's ran pretty smoothly since. He's got enough grip in the car on corner exit, backing the corners up, that he's not driving it in too deep for the most part. And that's why he's having these lower exits, trying to, again, get that straightaway speed. These are very long straightaways with it being a shorter racetrack. Really is a short track. Busch again looking low. That time he didn't really go wide in the center of the corner. Not like he had for the many laps prior to that. And Busch is going to be looking low for the lead in turn 1. Oh, wow. Harvick just shuts the door on him. That was very close to making contact. And Harvick gets another good drive off. It was very risky by Harvick back in the corner up when Busch was within striking distance. Now Busch sends it into the corner. Harvick goes a little wide, and Kyle Busch is going to get to the lead off 4. Harvick with a crossover, though. He gets the good run off as he has for most of the day, and Harvick leads the lap at the line still. Busch on the outside now. Harvick down low. What a crossover by Kevin Harvick, and he never officially lost the lead because Kyle Busch never led the lap. Now Harvick trying to protect down low, and Busch is going to drive it in really deep as well, and he slides up in the center of the corner as he has many times in 3 and 4, and he loses a bunch of ground. So the one opportunity Kyle Busch has had to make a pass on Harvick in the first 36 laps, he had him, and then he lost him off the exit of turn 4, and never officially got to the lead, so he's still searching for bonus points. Harvick beat him by inches. What a clean crossover that was, too. Clean move by both drivers. Back and forth. That was pretty cool. Busch might have to. I mean, he made that move because of how deep he was able to drive in, but with driving in that deep, you know you're not going to get the corner exit, and that's where Harvick was able to get back into the gas, and I think sliding up the corner might have actually helped him a little bit because he was able to kind of diamond cut the corner off the exit on top of beating him back to the gas, and that's how he got underneath him. So to make this a one pit stop race today, these guys are going to have to go 125 laps per run. I just don't think that's going to be possible. So if I had to guess, it's probably going to be a 2 pit stop race today. If they make it 75 laps into a run, then you're looking at about a 3 stop race, give or take, if they can only make it 75 laps or less. So that's kind of the magic number right here, is trying to get past lap 75 to at least make this 2 stops to the finish, which they should easily do considering they're at lap 40 right now, and at least for Harvick's sake, he hasn't had any word on him being a half a tank on fuel yet. Dover, these guys were able to, granted the lap times were a little bit quicker, so they were maybe burning a little bit more fuel than what you will here at New Hampshire, with it being also a 1 mile racetrack. Obviously, the more you're on the throttle, the more you're going to be burning gas. So you're not on the throttle as much here with these flatter, tighter corners. You're on the brakes a lot more. Really, almost like a faster version of a stop-and-go track, really. I never actually saw the Milwaukee Mile, but when I went to Road America this season, of course, Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, Plymouth County. That's north of where Milwaukee is, but I actually stayed in Milwaukee both nights I was traveling down there and coming back home the next day after the race. And I saw exits for the Milwaukee Mile, but I didn't actually see the racetrack itself, so I don't know where exactly it's at in Milwaukee. Looks like there's a lot of trees around the racetrack, so it's probably just outside of Milwaukee, but I could be wrong. Could be closer to the city. It is a shorter track, so I guess it's more possible. Busch is going to drive it in really deep. He couldn't go any lower, though. Harvick really tried to take the line away of Kyle Busch. And he's really having to make Kyle Busch really try to earn this lead. Kyle Busch is driving that car so hard on entry to the corners, trying to get around the 21. All these laps led, though, for Kevin Harvick. Could lead into something bigger, which could be the 10 bonus points versus 5 later in the race. I mean, technically to eclipse that, he'd have to lead 125 laps, and he's already led the first 44 when he gets back to the start-finish line here. Both drivers are having a near-perfect race here early on. Really why they're separating themselves from the field and not only not making the mistakes and running those clean, fast laps, but you have to have a fast car to do so as well, and both of them do. The Richard Childress Racing and the Hendrick Motorsports equipment. Harvick a little shaky into turn 1. Couldn't quite drive it in as deep because of it, and I know he hasn't really done that much today anyway. But Busch in turns 1 and 2, that's where he's better than Kevin Harvick. So work for it a little bit, 3 and 4, though coincidentally, turns 3 and 4 was about where Kyle Busch was the one making the pass on him earlier. Kyle way up high in 3 and 4, and it's back out to about a half a second lead at the start-finish line. Coming to about 200 laps to go here very shortly. Almost to lap 50, just hit halfway on fuel, so we're probably looking at about 88 to 92 laps being the pit window here tonight. So definitely a 2 pit stop race. And if we have any more, it would be because of possible cautions. A little shaky. Had a lot of cautions the last few races, I will say as well. Well, not the last 2 races, but the couple races before that, we had like 4 and 5 cautions each. I think 6 in one of those 3 races as well. We had 3 straight races with 4, 5, or 6 cautions, and the last 2 have simmered down a little bit. We only had 1 early on in the last race at Levi Strauss Signature Speedway, but it was a massive accident, a big pile up at turn 2. There were 3 cars that went airborne. It was just pretty ugly early in the race. Ron Hornaday, who we talked about, blown an engine. He was trying to get to pit road. Very narrow, short track. It was triangular, not much of a runoff or an apron to stay low, and he got clobbered in turn 2. Right for the field, going probably a good 100 miles an hour slower, and just a bad situation. We saw 3 cars airborne. Hornaday obviously had DNF'd. He likely would have DNF'd regardless, but definitely couldn't continue after that. These guys are slowly catching up to the lap traffic. So it's a good battle for third on the track map. You can see 2 cars under a blanket, but they're quite a ways off the top 2, though they are quite a ways ahead of the 5th place on back race cars as well. Likely looking like the 4 strongest cars in the field, that's for sure. 50 laps complete. We did race here once on the truck series. We also raced here once in the modified series on this game. So although this is the first trip for the Busch Series cars on this season, I do have a couple races worth of experience on this track in this game here in the recent months. Plus the practice and qualifying entering into this one felt pretty good. Obviously a fast race car here. Very interested if Ashton Lewis is either one of those 2 cars battling in 3rd and 4th, because again, he was fastest in final practice, but a happy hour session. Harvick was 2nd fastest. Harvick starting to gap Kyle Busch again, about 0.6 of a second. We'll see if Busch can close in, or maybe he'll have to wait for lap traffic to try and do so. So it seemed like he used his tires up a little bit too much in the first 30 laps, but then he kind of kept the pressure on Harvick at least still, and now he's starting to slide back again. He's 0.7 of a second off the lead. Ethan, welcome to the stream. Is today Martinsville? Yes, it will be later on tonight. Yes, indeed. Again, not just a double header on the channel, but a triple header today. With 3 different things, really. I mean, you got this NASCAR Busch Series race on NASCAR Chase for the Cup 2005, and then we got the NASCAR Fantasy Podcast after this, followed by the NASCAR Cup Series race, the NASCAR Heat 5 Career Mode at Martinsville. So, a lot of action on the channel here today. Well, I don't think well, again, remember, I have to do a race now because the career mode had glitched out, so I can't really, it's not like we have track-specific chassis anymore, at least for the rest of this season. If we have another season, if I don't win the championship, then I'll get everything simulated back up to normal, and then by next season, I would assume it would save, and if it doesn't, then I just wasted my time again. And if it doesn't save again, then we're not going to run another career mode season. We're only doing it like this just to finish out this year because we got so far into the season. Didn't want it to be all a waste. But even if I I'd have to use the short track chassis though, even if we were in that situation. Because remember, I tried to save the short track chassis for Phoenix in the Xfinity Series Season 1, and we missed the championship 4 by 7 points. And we're going into the next race with not a big points cushion at all. So I definitely don't want to make that same mistake twice. Got to get through Martinsville to even have a shot at Phoenix first, so you got to do all you can here today. Harvick dealing with lap traffic right now. Kyle Busch as well dealing with the lap cars early on. Harvick outbraking Lance Brantley. You'll get around him in turns 3 and 4. So lap 60. Almost a 1 second lead off turn 4. Now it is exactly 1 second lead at the start-finish line. Side-by-side lap traffic now in front of Kyle Busch. They were not side-by-side when Harvick caught him. So makes it a little bit easier on him. These last few races, we have seen a lot of drivers go lap down by the end of the race. In fact, we saw Harvick win by 2 whole laps at Dodge Raceway 2 races ago, on top of leading every lap. Making history on the channel. First time I've ever done that on this video game in any series. Upgrade employees, car repair for the short track. No, I can't really upgrade them much anyway. They're already at a 10 for their, the engine specialist is at a 10, the aero, and like everything's at a 10. I'm not going to go to max it out at 12. It's just a waste of money, in my opinion, especially if we do run another season. It costs so much just to upgrade them one more, and to do that to all 6 of them, it would just be a waste of money. We'd literally blow all of our money going up 2 ticks versus upgrading department, which could be 5, so it's not worth it at all. 10 is where I cap it out at. That's what I did for the Xfinity and the Truck Series as well. So Harvick again starting to pull away. Kyle Busch has used up a little bit too much of his stuff early in the run. Harvick slipped up the track, almost got into Al Wiggins. That was a close one. Had to lift off the exit of turn 2. He's definitely down on the apron in the center of the corner, and he slid up the track. Already pretty deep into lap traffic, though, for Harvick and Kyle Busch. Almost got into the 86 of Manny Brown. That was a close one, too. Make them 11. No, I'm not going to do that. It's a waste of money. It costs so much. For just one, like to go from, let's say, a 90 to a... Well, it wouldn't matter for Martinsville anyway, because the car would be a 90 overall anyway. So, I mean, either way, it's not going to... it wouldn't even make a difference for Martinsville because the departments are only up to a 90. If I did that for Phoenix, then let's say after using the short track chassis, we make it to Phoenix for the championship. We run Phoenix, and we end up finishing... we end up, like our departments, let's say it's like an 86. Let's just guess. Let's just say it's an 86 for engine, aero, and suspension. If we upgraded one, it would be at an 87 all the way around. That's really not going to make us any faster. I mean, I don't even think that's not going to make us from like a 10th place car to a race winning car. I can guarantee you that. We'd be lucky to get one extra position out of it. I mean, it's really not a jump like it would be if you were to upgrade a department and it's +5 in the department. You go from like a 90 to a 95. Like, that's huge. And it costs pretty much about the same amount of money, so there's just no point. Try not to drive too aggressively at Martinsville. Yeah, I definitely got to save our stuff, especially early on. It's a long race. It's 500 laps. We do not want to risk totaling the race car early on and ruining a chance of getting any stage points. Because, again, we don't have to win. We're above the cutoff line going in, but we're not above the cutoff line by much. I'd have to look back at the points. It's been since Thursday since we ran the career mode, but we'll see. We'll see. A quarter of a tank of fuel left here for Kevin Harvick. So go back to what's happening in this race today. Out a 2-second lead over Kyle Busch. Tires are wearing out a little bit. Harvick kind of locked the tires up into turn 3 the lap prior. Really the only time he's even done that today as well. Really low entrance into turn 1. Makes a clean pass on the 131 car. Old contact it looked like up there. Couldn't tell who it was between. Three wide off the exit of turn 4. Harvick making a daring move under the lap cars. Widens out down the straightaways. It'll narrow up into the corner. At least he's side by side by then. Buchanan on the outside, the 113, just gets outbraked by the clearly faster car of Kevin Harvick. And he'll go lap down as well. I forgot about that. Jimmy Hill. I don't think we've seen him in a few races. We got Timmy Hill in NASCAR today. We've got Jimmy Hill in the as the fantasy driver for NASCAR Chase for the Cup 2005. A long-lost brother of Timmy Hill, I guess. Oh, none below the cutoff line. Yeah, if somebody below the cutoff line wins, then we're in trouble. Well, we're not in trouble if we can outscore guys like Harvick and Kyle Busch, but if we don't, then yeah, we'll be out if somebody else wins below the cutoff line. We saw Newman win. He was below the cutoff line at Texas, so it's definitely possible. It's hard to believe that with no playoff drivers winning at Kansas, Bowman got the win. He was eliminated in the round of 12. That literally Ryan Newman is the only driver locked into the championship 4 right now. Oh no! Contact! Up the track and into the wall goes the lap car of Cody Holt. He drove it in deep on Harvick, and Harvick wasn't expecting to do that. So Harvick was just trying to make the corner, and he came down into Holt, not realizing he was there. Both cars get sideways. Harvick kept it off the wall. Holt did not, but we do stay green. No caution still today for the first 75 laps at the Milwaukee Mile. And the lead was dropped down about 0.3 of a second that last lap as well. It was 2.5. Went down to 2.2. Harvick literally 0.3 of a second faster than Kyle Busch that last lap. Busch is getting held up big time in the lap traffic once again. Harvick's out to a 2.6 second lead into turn 3. A lot of lap traffic coming up in the next couple laps. And I'm sure green flag pit stops will be coming up pretty soon here. Again, it's a 2 pit stop race today. Yeah, they already announced that there's a career mode for the next NASCAR game. They have a bunch of stuff on their websites about details of the game, and one of them was a full, forget how they worded it, but I know there's a career mode because they said that there's a career mode. Something about like a full-length career mode or something like that. Yeah, something like that. But I know they did say they're going to have a career mode. Will it be better or worse? I don't know. That's just going to be based off your discretion, and it's going to have to wait to have an opinion on that until we actually, see the game. And not only the gameplay itself, but the actual features. Live in person, how they work. Tyler Brubeck, welcome to the stream. Really feel bad for Denny Hamlin so close to a win. He's been close to a win so many times this year. He ran out of gas on the last lap of Pocono while he was leading, or coming to the white flag. Then he got wrecked from the lead by a car that had a penalty anyway, so he wasn't even, Briscoe wasn't even battling him for the win yesterday. And he got beat on a late race restart at Richmond earlier this year by Bowman. Like 7 laps to go in that race. And then he had a chance to get around Logano on a race start, and he just went high instead. That was his mistake. But He's been so close to so many wins this year, and just nothing happened. Hasn't gotten the job done yet. A little sideways for Harvick underneath the 20 of Mike Bliss. I got a little sketchy. Turns 1 and 2, especially the more narrow the two corners. Tires are old. 80 laps on them. Again, green flag pit stops coming up shortly. Just over a 3-second lead for Kevin Harvick. He's led every lap so far today. Can you imagine if he does that 2 out of 3 races consecutively, though? We still got a long ways to go in this one. He was much more dominant at Dodge Raceway as far as speed in the race car goes compared to here today at Milwaukee. He's having troubles trying to get around Steve Calloway in the 139. The generated cars. Gonna beat Callaway to the inside at turn 3. Grips up well. Haven't seen anybody try to short pit yet. Again, 88 to 92 laps, the expected pit window. But guys can pit early if they want to now. They can make it on 2 stops to the end if they pit it really at any lap at this point. Kyle Larson fan, welcome to the stream as well. Yeah, Briscoe cut the corner. Big time. There we go. Now we got our first drivers on the pit road this time by. So the start of green flag pit stops at lap 84. Seen a lot of cautions in the middle of green flag pit stops as of late this season. So Harvick is staying with the strategy that has helped him a lot, and that's stay out as long as he can, because you don't want to catch a caution and get trapped a lap down. A lot of these faster drivers, Kyle Busch has been on the receiving end of that twice in the last few races, and it's taken him out of chances to win. When he had fast cars early, much like this one where he was in second. Now Busch has already hit pit road because that leads up to about 11.5 seconds. So Kyle trying to gain ground on Harvick, but if we get a caution, he's going to get trapped a lap down like he has a few times already this year. It's Dwayne Borland coming out of the pits. Harvick comes out ahead of him. Whoa, Borland all the way down near the grass. Really taking Harvick's line away. He's got the fresher tires. He's still trying to get up to speed. Harvick's still on the outside of him into turn 1. Harvick's still stuck up high. Oh, boy. I didn't think Borland was clear when he moved up the racetrack, but I guess he was. Harvick going to cross him over into 3. Not sure why Dwayne Borland's battling the leader as hard as he is right now. I guess he'd be 2 laps down instead of 1, so maybe that's why he's battling, in case we were to get a yellow. A lot of cars coming off the pit lane here right in front of the leader. Gets underneath Jared Holmes off turn 2. Bobby Hamilton Jr. just up ahead now. Harvick going to stay out this lap. Really shocked he wouldn't get a penalty for cut. Yeah, I know. I'd be shocked too. He cut the corner badly. And he didn't lose time doing it. He actually came out side by side with Hamlin still. So it's not like he lost time going through there. Like, that would be the argument if he lost time, but he didn't lose time. Kevin Harvick got to pit this lap, by the way. Lap 89 down the back straightaway. He's underneath of Bobby Hamilton Jr. has already hit pit road. Looks like Hamilton's maybe shut the door on Harvick a little bit here. Nope, Harvick's still inside of him. Harvick practice coming down to pit road twice in practice. And he gets to, oh boy, he almost hit the tire barrier. That was pretty close. Definitely slid the tires. Haven't had that old of tires practicing coming into the pits. But Harvick's led the first 89 laps today. He's on pit road as we speak. Kyle Busch just got back on the lead lap around the racetrack. And we'll see who will cycle to the lead this time around. Oh, the Jackman. Down he goes. Already a mistake on the 21 crew's pit stop here under green. This is going to be a costly mistake for the Reese Chevrolet. The Jackman falling over Try to service the right side of the race car. And Tim Feeta was actually in the lead right now. Man, Harvick on cold tires trying to get back up on the racetrack. He gets sideways. He will come out in front of Kyle Busch still. And Tim Feeta is still on the racetrack, so 5 bonus points for him. Harvick has not led every lap now. And that just goes to show how hard it is to lead laps. Or to lead every lap. Oh my goodness. Harvick all over the place. Really sideways on entry into turn 1 that time. Feeta now coming into the pit, so he led 1 lap. He comes on in the next lap. Might actually lead a 2nd lap at the start-finish line, depending on where his pit box is. Yep, he'll lead lap. There's a 2nd lap of the race as well, lap 91. Harvick underneath the 123 car. Now he's underneath Terry Cook in the middle of 1 and 2. Jeez, sorry, I was looking at the chat. I missed the corner. Luckily, did not make contact with Terry Cook. Luckily. But Harvick back in the lead officially at the line that time. A 1.2 second lead on Kyle Busch. So Busch pitting about 4 or 5 laps before Harvick had gained him about 2 seconds of time. He was 3.2 seconds off the lead. The lead's down to 1.1 seconds. But Kyle's going to have to get through the lap traffic a little bit better than what he did during that first tire stint if he's going to want to try to put pressure back on the 21. And it seemed like once we got past halfway through the run that he was starting to lose time to the 21 car as well. So same situation. He's back over a second off the lead. By the time things cycle back through and he's in 2nd. He used his tires up to get to Harvick. Had the pressure on him, but he didn't have the grip to get around him. So Kyle Busch still looking to try and lead his first lap of the race and get 5 bonus points. Because he pitted well before Harvick. Again, Feeta would led 2 laps, and that was it. Harvick's led every other lap since. Or before, and now obviously just took the lead a couple laps ago again. Once Feeta will finally hit the pits. I believe Feeta was in the top 10 in points. He's having a pretty decent season. Bad for Austin Dillon. Got caught up in the middle of someone else's wreck. Was running just on the road course 13th before. Yeah. He actually was keeping up with Tyler Reddick in the stage points. Like, it was big for Reddick to get those 2 stage wins. We got trouble on the racetrack. Somebody's up in smoke down the front straightaway and will likely have to dive onto pit road this time. So keeping minimum speed for now. I don't expect that to hold up any longer. Harvick has to go high and barely misses the car on the inside who stacked everybody up off of turn 2. Oh my goodness, hold your breath. Kevin Harvick. He almost clobbered the 83 car, and we almost had a similar incident to what happened in the last race at Levi Strauss Signature Speedway. I didn't expect him to just drop like that all of a sudden. I expected, like, down the straightaway he was just going to drop to the inside and then duck off that. I mean, he ran about half a lap with a blown engine, and it just died right in front of Kevin Harvick. I don't know how I missed him. That was very close. Somehow Harvick kept it off the wall, too. Kyle Busch actually slowed down even worse than Harvick did because he was 1.2 off the lead. Now he's about 3.5 seconds off the lead. So even though Harvick almost hit him and had to check up quite a bit to keep from hitting him, we do stay green. And now he's got a bigger lead. Oh, jeez. Dang it, this is the first time I hit the wall, and I was looking at the chat again. Oh, that stinks. I was wondering how far into this race I was going to go without hitting the wall. I did it because I was looking at... I've looked at the chat a couple times already in the last few laps, and I keep missing my marks. Usually I do a pretty good job of being able to do both, and I don't know why I'm struggling with that right now. Yeah, thankfully he was okay. That was a hard lick for Austin Dillon for sure when he clobbered the 34 head on. T-boned him. Yeah, the fantasy has gotten even tighter. I didn't check. I was checking throughout the race, and it looked like it was going to tighten up even more because I was actually having good internet connection when I was at the track, so I was able to modify my lineup a little bit there. I was getting a little scared when Christopher Bell got back in the top 10 late. If he wasn't involved in that big accident, I would have left some points in my garage, but I felt more confident that AJ Allmendinger was going to get back in there, and then everything happened. Then Allmendinger went on to win the race of all things, so it's a good thing he wasn't in my garage. That I pulled him out of the garage and put Bell in there. And then Bell had his incidents, and I was like, oh man, maybe I should have. I could have put Logano in there ideally, either him or Bell, but I think Logano had more stage points on him, so he actually outscored Bell by a couple, if I'm not mistaken. But all in all, I had a pretty good fantasy day. Most of the guys I had on my team missed the wreck. I think Joey Logano was the only driver I had that was involved in any one of those last two accidents. Oh, Tyler Reddick also, my bad. Yeah, I forgot I had Tyler Reddick too. But Reddick won the first two stages though, so he had a lot of points. Even with getting involved in a wreck. Second time we've seen Harvick lock the brakes up into turn 3. Kyle Busch is trying to eat into that gap. Again, it was about 3.3 seconds. Now it's down to 2.6. Just over 100 laps in. Harvick's crew never made any adjustments on pit road that last time through. Maybe Kyle Busch's crew did, and maybe they got that car even faster. Again, he was fastest though through the first half of that run as well. Earlier on. Yeah, I stated that in the comments section of another video that that we still could see 16 different winners in the regular season, but Allmendinger's part-time, so he doesn't qualify for the playoffs. And it's not that he's running part-time so much. I know he hasn't ran every race, so that's some of it, but he's running for points in the Xfinity Series, and you can't race for points in multiple of the top 3 series, so with him running for points in the Xfinity, obviously he's got a couple wins there, and is competing for a championship there, having a good season. Could be definitely, if I had to guess, would be one of the championship 4, but we'll see how that goes. Got Chastain in the garage. Yeah, he blew an engine coming to that last restart. Something. He had some smoke pouring out of the back of the car. He pulled onto pit road randomly. It was weird that it happened under yellow. Kyle Busch is definitely closing that gap, but is he going to use the stuff up to get to Harvick just like he did in the last run? Somehow that 5 team is going to have to gain time on pit road or something that he can come out right with Harvick, that he's not having to burn his equipment out just trying to get to him every time. That leads down to 2 seconds. Again, it was 3.3 about a dozen laps ago, maybe a little more than that. Alternate through the different camera angles here for the next few laps. First time today, almost halfway home at the Milwaukee Mile this afternoon. Eddie Hammock in the 119 car, by the way. Harvick's going to try to pass into turn 3. And Hammock going to lose a lap. Harvick clear off turn 4 with ease. Post-race analysis is coming up right after this race today. Yep. Good question there, Tyler. Now we'll be streaming back to back to back here. So then our NASCAR Heat 5 Cup race is going to be after this. But yep, post-race analysis coming up live after this race that you're seeing on the channel right now. I gotta say, though, I am very blessed that I have seen 4 wild races in person so far this season. Talladega was awesome. The best race I've ever seen in person. Pocono gave it a run for its money. That first Pocono race. And even the second one was great. Both Pocono Cup races were really good, but that first one gave that Talladega race a run for its money. And then yesterday at Indy, I'd probably put it 4th of those 4 races, but it's still one of the crazier races this season. It's just these races I go to in person this year, they have just been wild. And even last year, too. I was at the Fall Talladega race last year and the Southern 500 last year when Truex and Elliott got together there late. And then Harvick and Austin Dillon battled for the win at the end. That was wild. Like, I've just been on this streak. Whoa, whoa. A little late braking there by the lap car. He got into the right rear of Harvick and just about turned him. Getting into turn 3, and that cuts the lead down to about 1.8 seconds. Harvick had him clear. That was really strange. Oh, hooked him. Lucky he got to see Coda in the rain. Yeah, Coda and Sonoma were definitely wild. Those are both good. Sonoma was a really good race. Sonoma's probably the other race I'd probably put in the top 5 right now this season. Martinsville was pretty good too, I guess. But I'd probably throw Sonoma in the top 5. I wouldn't put Indy in the top 5 as far as races this year. It had the potential in the first half of the race. It mellowed out in the final stage, and then it just got too sloppy at the end for my liking. Sonoma race had like everything, and it had strategy, it had beat and banging like short track style, it had some just good hard clean racing, but aggressive at times too. So that was just a really good. That's definitely I'd say that Sonoma's been the best road course race this season. Watkins Glen was good, and the cars were sliding around a lot, but good charge late by Elliott. It was a good race, but Sonoma was the best road course race this season. And then I'd probably throw Watkins Glen as the second best road course race this year. Coda was just a little sloppy, just by the calls by NASCAR. New Hampshire, I think, is a top 5 race this year. If I had to name the top 5 race, no particular order, but races I'd put in the top 5 right now, I'd say both Pocono races, I'd say Talladega, I'd say Sonoma, and I'd say New Hampshire. I think those have been the 5 best races so far this season. Cal Naughton Jr., welcome to the stream. There we go, snail slow. Yeah, Martinsville was good too, though. I think Martinsville is an honorable mention. Dirt Bristol's an honorable mention too. I think, well, Dirt Bristol is just like Coda in the sense why I wouldn't put it in the top 5 just because it got out of hand at certain points in the race, and it wasn't really the driver's fault. It was, NASCAR's fault for not, you know, for Dirt Bristol not prepping the track better. Then with Coda just letting it run a little too long before the rain. And I'd say the same for New Hampshire, but because their incident happened so early in the race, it only took out really 2 cars. Even though it probably could have been the 2 best cars in the field, but the racing made up for that day. I put New Hampshire at 5 of those races so far. That would be number 5, and I'd like to rank it higher because it really was a good race, but that and I guess it getting short in darkness. Ricky Bobby in the chat too. There we go. Shake and bake. Harvick's been at about that 1.8 to 2 second lead here for quite some time. Kyle Busch cut that down a little bit. Now he's just kind of staggered out. Almost halfway home here today. Just give it 2 more laps. 1 more, I guess, at the start-finish line here. Then we'll be halfway home. Harvick's led all but 2 laps today. Tim Feeder will lead the other 2 laps. And it was during green flag pit stops. Kyle Busch had battled for the lead early on, but hasn't really been there since about lap 70 or so, which was about 15 laps before Kyle Busch had hit pit road. Starting to lose Harvick on those extremely old tires. Still 1 more pit stop left to the end of the race. We've only had 1 up to this point so far. And now that we're halfway, we are caution-free in this one. We have had a couple caution-free races. I believe 2 of them so far this season in the Busch Series. So we'll see if that will continue on. Yeah, it was a very good battle. Yeah, Sonoma just was a really good race. I think Talladega is the best race so far this season. I'd put Pocono 1, that Saturday Pocono race with that great battle between Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson there for about 5 to 10 laps. Then the late race restart, Bowman getting to the lead. Then a great battle between Bowman and Larson. And then, even the strategy from start to finish in that race is really fun. And then obviously Larson pulling the tire in the last lap. It was just so wild and chaotic, but it was a natural wild and chaotic, which just makes racing great. Those are the instances that make not only NASCAR, but just auto racing in general a great. Just shows that anything can happen under normal circumstances. So I'd say that's number 2. I'd put Sonoma at number 3, and then I'd put Pocono. I would put the second Pocono race at number 4, so I'll throw Sonoma like right in the middle of them, and then New Hampshire at 5. I personally liked the Atlanta race earlier this year, out of biased opinion, because Blaney won. I thought it was an average race. It was fun watching the cars slip around, but it was an average race. But Blaney catching up and winning that one puts it in my personal top 10 this year, but that's the only reason. It's probably number 10. But, I'm excited. I got 3 more races I'm going to this year. One of them next weekend, going to Michigan, so get to see back-to-back races again this year. And I'll be on my home track, so I'll be able to sleep in my own bed the night before and the night after the race. I did sleep in my own bed last night, but I didn't get home till like 9:30. I'll get home much earlier in Michigan. Had a 4-hour drive, and then I got to sleep in my own bed. Yeah, the second Atlanta race I thought was better than the first one overall. It was a good battle between the Busch brothers. I got the 2.3 second lead. It looks like 2.2, 2.3. A little loose into turn 1. The track he goes. Clear down. Make sure that lap car didn't get back underneath him. Lost a couple tenths of a second there, but he's still sitting pretty. It is going to be tough to dethrone Harvick today if this goes caution-free, but Again, a caution can strike at any moment. Still got one pit stop left to the finish. We know the pit window's ideally about 88 to 92 laps at the furthest you can run on fuel, and we saw Harvick go 89 laps to start the race. So he's probably looking at pitting anywhere between lap 178 and 177 to 179 would probably be the range that Harvick could go before having to pit. He will stay out as long as he can again, just in case we do get a caution in the middle of green flag pit stops. There's been, trust me when I say there has been a lot of good races this year. Trust me, there has been a lot of good races. Those are just my top 5. Like Atlanta 2 was a good race. Like I said, Martinsville was a good race. Bristol was a good race for its own right. Coda had some, wild and crazy moments. I thought it was a good race outside of the NASCAR issue side of things, but I try not to let that factor in too much. That's why I didn't let it factor in too much with the New Hampshire race. But I mean, Road America was a good race. Had like a mellow finish to it, I guess. I might be saying that because I was there in person, but hey, it is what it is. Of the races I've seen in person this year, I think Dover is probably the bottom of the totem pole, and it wasn't like a bad race by any means. But that just goes to show I've been to a lot of races this year that are just so wild and chaotic. So look out for Michigan this weekend because I'll be there, and we might see another wild, chaotic race just because I'm there. Both Michigan races last year were really good, I thought. When they ran the doubleheader, they both were pretty close finishes too. So we see that again. Could be because I'm at the track. I'll be going to Bristol, Martinsville, and those are tracks that are capable of putting on some really good races. And those are the last 3 Cup races I'll be at this year. So here we go. I think the only thing keeping Hamlin tamed in post race is the fact that he knows Briscoe's a nice guy, and he's like, I'm just going to go up and state my opinion, and that's it, There's something I was going to talk about too, but I'll leave it off to the side for now, and I'll save it for the post race analysis. But it has to do with one of the people at NBC that covers the races, and it's not any of the guys in the main booth that you would see on a weekend. It's one of the pit reporters that I'm starting to not grow too fond of. And it hasn't just been this year; it's been the last couple years. But I'll talk about that in the post race. We'll have a little bit more time to talk about the race itself, because I don't want to go into too great detail right now. I'll save my raw thoughts and opinions there. But in between streams today, or maybe tonight after all of them, maybe tomorrow before I stream, tomorrow night, you can go back, you can look at really the racing that we had seen yesterday from my vantage point in the grandstands. Uploaded basically the 3 wildest parts of the race separately, but then the whole race highlights as a whole are also on the channel right now, as far as, again, from the grandstand view on the channel. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of my thoughts. I left happy. I left knowing that I saw a good race. I didn't let the wild and chaoticness get out of the way. And things can be wild, chaotic in a good way. Like Larson blowing a tire in the last lap, it was completely natural. Harvick almost pinched off the 86 car and drove it in deep on him. Same thing the 193 did earlier in the race on Harvick. Harvick ran a little wide off turn 4, gets the drive off. He's going to clear the 86 down into turn 1. And that 86 car is racing the heck out of Kevin Harvick right now. Harvick has already lapped him. I believe he's trying not to go 2 laps down. And all of a sudden, the 86 car slowed Harvick up so much. Here comes Tim Fedewa. And now they're side by side in front of Harvick. And Kyle Busch all of a sudden is only a half a second off the lead with just over 100 laps to go. Harvick's got nowhere to go. He is 3 wide middle into turn 1. He is trying to get around these guys, and he just can't do it. Really low exit to turn 2. He cuts underneath Fedewa again, and Kyle Busch is knocking on the doorstep of trying to take the lead for the first time this afternoon. Don't look now, but Busch is coming. Just got to get around those 2 cars as well. Smithfield CEO welcomes to the stream. Yeah, I heard they moved the finish of the race to NBC Sports. I didn't even hear about that until today. Luckily, I was at the track in person, so it didn't really bother me at all, I guess, personally. But yeah, that would suck if you don't have cable and you miss the end of the race because of that. I just don't understand why they do that for NASCAR, but any other sporting event, they... Like, if it was the NFL, they would not do that. I guarantee they wouldn't do that. Not just because it's the most watched sport in America, but even if it was like a college basketball game or something, and it wasn't even March Madness, I don't even think they would do that. Like, I just feel like NASCAR is the only sport they do that with. I don't understand. It's not the first time, probably won't be the last either. It's like if there was like a Sunday afternoon baseball game on like regular Fox, and then there was a rain delay in the 7th inning, and so they just moved the game to Fox Sports 1, knowing that they'll get back to playing in about a half hour to an hour, and they just end up like moving the race anyway. And if you don't have cable and you're watching the game, you'd be like, oh, well, what the heck? Like, that's basically the same thing. And I don't think they would do that with baseball. They would maybe change it to like another game, and then they would throw the original game back on when it returns, but they wouldn't completely go away from it and not come back. Contact with Sean Batson now for Kevin Harvick. Harvick has struggled in the lap traffic here. He's got about 25 to 30 laps before green flag pit stops again. We have, again, seen that lead down to about 0.4 of a second during this run. It was 3.3. Back to a second, though. Oh, Harvick overdrove 1 by a long shot. Way up the track goes the 21. That's the first time he's done that today. He just needs to get back in rhythm and hit his marks again. We still got 100 laps to go. Anything could happen. Canada bootleg. Is that how you were watching the NASCAR races before? I've noticed a lot of the races I've been at, they've done that. Didn't they do that with Talladega last year in the fall, too? I could be wrong on that. I was at that race, too, so I wouldn't know if they did it for that race. But I think I was hearing the same thing, that they moved, like, the last restart over to NBC Sports or something. Or they're trying to cut off the 117. He's saying, no, I don't want any more lap cars crossing me over. Hey, Rutledge is a nice guy. Like, personally, he's a really nice guy. I got to meet him at Chicagoland in 2019. I saw him walking. I didn't really talk to him much, but he was nice enough to respond back to me, and he didn't have to stop and respond to me. Rutledge is a pretty nice guy. Now, I don't think they should take away green flag action of the race to view Rutledge for whatever interview he's doing. If he's going to do it, I don't understand why they don't do his interviews during like cautions or stage breaks, why they always choose green flag racing to do it. But yeah, if they do it under the cautions and stuff, man, I'm all in for like him interviewing random fans and stuff. Whatever side project he's working on for the week. I just don't like it taken away from the green flag action, which seems to be the case a lot of the time. That's not his fault. That's NBC's fault. Rutledge is just there to get paid, man. He is there to get paid. They did it for Talladega. Yeah, that's what I thought. Again, it seems like the races I'm at, I know the Daytona road course race last year, there was literally no post race. Like, they went to checkered flag and like, and Chase Elliott wins. Oh boy. Locking the brakes up again in turn 3. It's about the third time he's done that. That time he actually kept the car on the inside though, but his tires are getting older. 10 to 15 laps away from green flag pit stops, starting at least. A lot heavier lap traffic in front of the 21 now, and he's back out to about a 1.6 second lead on Kyle Busch again. Billy Kramer, welcome to the stream. But anyway, yeah, the Daytona road course race, they moved that. I remember them moving that no, they didn't move it. Yeah, they finished the race, and they didn't even interview Chase Elliott. Like sometimes they're running late, and they'll interview the winner of the race, and then they'll cut away. They didn't even do that. Like, he crossed the checkered flag. Basically, the top 10 crossed the start-finish line at the end of the race, and then that was it. And they cut to the news. Not even breaking news either. It was just regularly scheduled programming. It's like, come on. Good corner there, getting into turn 1 for Harvick. Makes a nice clean pass on the lap car. Yeah, if the Truck Series would have been racing this weekend, and it would have been their race that would have ripped up the curbing, and they had to take the curbing out, we would have had like 6 restarts at the end of the race instead of 2 like the Cup Series. At least the Cup Series are tame enough to settle down after a little bit. Oh man, Dwayne Borland making the late dive to pit road. Harvick had to break off turn 4 to keep from hitting him. So green flag pit stops going on for the second time today. Again, no cautions yet at the Milwaukee Mile. Feel the awkward cringe coming of people being interviewed by. The thing is though, what happens is Rutledge or likely Rutledge, but they have to ask for permission to interview these people. They can't just interview them, out of pure wit. So you ask them, and then they say, yeah, I'll interview because they want to be on TV, essentially, is why they, yeah, you can interview me. I want to be on TV. And then they get so awkward and they freeze. like, that's not Rutledge's fault. It's like, if you feel awkward, say no to the interview. But I think it's just that will of, oh, I'm going to be on TV, so yes, and then they get stage fright. Like, that's their fault. That's their fault for buying into it. You can decline it, and they're not going to interview you. And be like, oh, okay, if you don't feel comfortable, yeah. And then they'll find somebody else that is comfortable to do it, or somebody else that's comfortable that wants, or that isn't comfortable but wants to be on TV too. Whatever the case is, they won't. So that's more on the people than NBC. That's a fan problem. Is the curb metal? No, it is not. No, it's just coming apart. I guess those curbs are 4 years old. And I guess they had replacement curbs, but they didn't want to. According to Alan Bestwick, Jamie Little were covering the lap-by-lap action on the race instead of like MRN or PRN, whoever's coming the race radio-wise. It was those guys. Those two were covering the race. And Alan Bestwick had stated that they have spare curbs, but with only 2 to go, they didn't want to replace it. Now we got to stack up. Another car is blowing an engine. Trying to make it to pit road, Harvick clobbers the rear of one of the lap cars in front of him. And Kyle Busch comes into the pits that time as well, so that was a lot of time gained for Kyle Busch on the racetrack. That stack up happening right in front of Kevin Harvick. Things are just not going right for Harvick here over the last 30 to 40 laps. It's Craig Miller who he got into the back of. Happened so quick. That was the 3rd time that instant has happened today where they've checked up in front of him. I believe every time was off turn 4 as well, but first 2 times Harvick was able to avoid, not that time. Anyway, what I was saying was they had the spare curbing, but because there was only 2 laps to go and it was probably going to take twice as long of a red flag, they didn't want to waste that extra time replacing the curbing. If it would have been like midway through the race, I think they would have. But the thing that doesn't make sense to me, and I don't think TV picked this up because I haven't really seen anybody talking about it, but at the racetrack, they were showing on the Videotron, because I couldn't see that area of the racetrack from where I was sitting. But what they were showing on the Videotrons, every caution from the end of stage 1 on, they were kind of messing with the curbing like it was wanting to come up from the racetrack all day long. So I don't understand why, especially after the splitter got caught underneath the curbing in that same area, why they didn't just have a red flag then and replaced it then. Then we wouldn't have had that issue at the end of the race. Like, why did they, we'll just, like, basically all they had was sledgehammers, and they were just taking the sledgehammers and pounding the curb, trying to, like, bash it into the ground and keep it, like, level with the ground again. And sealed to the ground again, I should say. Like, that's they were doing that under every single caution. People, like, walking on it, stepping on it, jumping on it, and stuff. Like, that's literally all they were doing. And then, at the end of the race, it was just, like, coming up way too easily. I mean, more wear and tear, more laps, more cars running over that same spot. So it wasn't like, I think they should have red flagged it after that incident. They should have replaced the curbing there, and we would have had a clean rest of the race. And I don't know if that's the NASCAR call, or if that's an Indianapolis Motor Speedway call, because they're the one that has to replace the curbing. But somebody's got to make that call and step up, and before things get out of hand. And things got out of hand, obviously, yesterday. Drivers are just put in this box where they're just there to race, and it's out of their control. But yeah, they were messing with it all day. They didn't mess with it during the Xfinity race at all. It was only really happening during the Cup race. They didn't even really work on it during qualifying either. It was literally only the race that started coming up. If I had to assume, a track official down in that area of the racetrack was probably like, hey, the curbing's starting to come up, like after stage 1, and that's when they brought like the safety crew and stuff to try and knock it down literally after every caution in the race, because there wasn't a caution for incident in stage 1. So end of stage 1 on, they were trying to knock it down every yellow they had. And it just kept coming up, knocking it down. Just after so much, the curb couldn't take anymore. Well, that's where the NASCAR fans and just need to start to grow a pair and understand what that some things, happen for a reason, and you can't manipulate every single race. And NASCAR only tries to please the fans because they listen to the fans that the same fans that moan and stuff and everything on Twitter, like the fans that NASCAR tries to attend to and listen to, and that's the issue. I feel like the majority of unspoken race fans are your legitimate race fans that like NASCAR for what it is and stuff. They don't complain about it at all. Nobody, and if there is an issue and they try to voice their opinion, those are like, I just feel like NASCAR listens to the wrong fans is essentially what it comes down to. It's not like completely their fault. Like they don't know. At least I don't think they know. Like they don't know I exist. I feel like I'm the most like unbiased fan out there. Yeah, the Cup cars do sit a little bit lower to the ground, so that could have been a lot of the reason too. For sure. Kevin Harvick going to come into the pit lane this time. It was an 89 lap, green flag run once again, or tire stent run for Harvick, just like it was the last time. We'll see if he'll come out with the lead. He's got a little bit of damage to the front of his race car. They might try to repair it. They might not. We'll just have to see. A lot better entry to pit road than the last time. A lot smoother, and here it is. Green flag pit stop. No adjustments are going to be made. We'll see. Remember, the Jackman made a mistake on the last pit stop, but Harvick still came out with about a 1.2 second lead. The lead was only about a second, and then Busch pit. So it wasn't 3 seconds like it was before. Clean stop that time by the 21 crew. And Kyle Busch is going to cycle to the lead. Harvick, man, loose again trying to come off the pit lane. That happened the last time, too. Those cold tires, so that stack up coming into the pits costed Kevin Harvick the lead ultimately because they had a clean stop that time. And Kyle Busch is going to get 5 bonus points for leading a lap after pitting 10 laps before Harvick as well. That was also more time capitalized for Kyle Busch and why he came out with a 1.4 second lead, but Harvick going to try to run him down. And we could have a very, very entertaining finish to this race. Well, after about 2.5 laps coming out of the pits, Harvick is all over the back bumper of Kyle Busch. Harvick has clinched the most laps led already today. Kyle runs a little wide in 3 and 4. He's had a problem with that for most of the day, and Harvick clears him off turn 4 for the lead. Quickly, Harvick back out in front with less than 70 laps to go at Milwaukee. And after the lap car, Kenny Walls, there's going to be a lot of clean air in front of the 21. See if Kyle can race his way back through. Ooh, Kenny Wallace chopping off the 21. He blocked Harvick. Getting into turn 1. Now he leaves the bottom open off the exit of turn 2. Harvick back underneath him. Harvick going to have to clear him this time in 3 and 4. Harvick a little loose. He's struggling. Clears Kenny Wallace cleanly off 4. Took a little extra time, but he did get around him. It is a little easier though for the IndyCar guys to not have to rely on the curbing. Like the Cup cars, and that's why they go a lot wider too, and they don't have as many track limits because they're big, heavy stock cars. The brakes don't work quite as well because they're heavier. They need the extra spacing. They need the extra space to make the corner. Otherwise, you're just not going to see the good, hard, it's not going to be as fast. It's going to be harder to pass. They have that extra space because they need it. If they're going to want to be able to actually push the race car lap after lap, corner after corner on these road courses, especially the tighter ones, because the cars slide around a lot more than what a lighter open wheel car would. So yeah, I mean that's why the open wheel cars don't really have to hug the curbing to make the quarter, and they got a lot more downforce too. With the 750 package, it's low downforce. The car's slipping and sliding everywhere. You saw it at Watkins Glen especially. But you can even see it a little bit this weekend. Really, in turn 5 and 6 was a good point where you saw guys sliding around a lot. Other areas of the track as well. It's just they're difficult to handle. And Indy cars and open wheel cars are definitely difficult to handle in their own right, but that's why the laps are faster with almost a similar engine as far as horsepower goes. Cars are just a lot lighter so they can float around and move a little easier. More grip. That, and I'd have to imagine Firestone tires on an Indy car are probably better than a Goodyear tire on a NASCAR. Drivers have complained about Goodyear for a long time. It's been decades, really. I don't think drivers have ever since the first ever tire war back in the 70s, I feel like drivers have complained about tires ever since. It's nothing new. It doesn't matter whether it's Goodyear or not. Yeah, I enjoyed the IndyCar race. I'll upload that stuff here in the next couple of days as well, but I enjoyed it. Never not enjoy racing when you're at the track in person. You get the experience. With running the IndyCar and the Xfinity back to back, it was like night and day difference, like how much faster the laps were, how much quicker they came back around the racetrack versus the Xfinity cars. But I will say though, out of all 3 races this weekend, the IndyCar race is the least entertaining for me. And a lot of it is, probably I'm not, as big of an IndyCar fan as a NASCAR fan, but even during the Xfinity race, it was so much easier to pass. Now I will say, there were a lot of good battles in the middle of the pack for the IndyCar race, which made the IndyCar race really good. Because if, Will Power's bigger lead, if he would have just kind of had that and it would have been that kind of a difference of position between, everywhere in the top 10, yeah, it wouldn't have been so hot. But when you went back to, 4th on back, it was some pretty good racing. Speed-wise, though, its top 3 were just light years ahead of everybody else. So we still got 55 laps to go. There is time in this race for Kyle Busch to try and run down Kevin Harvick once again. I would love to play that golf course there, but the problem is they have it closed on the race weekend, so it's not like you can go in there. I'd have to drive 4 hours on a non-race weekend to go and play there, and that would be tough. Tiny Buchanan, the 113 car, the next lap car ahead of Kevin Harvick. He's leaving a lot of bottom open off turn 2 for Harvick to try and get underneath. Harvick didn't quite get to him off the exit of the corner. He will get in on corner entry into 3. Side drafted him a tiny bit as well. A lot harder to side draft the Gen 4 cars, but it is still there because of the rear spoilers. Yeah, the multiple different tires they use definitely creates more strategy. It's hard to follow at first when you're not like an IndyCar fan. The one thing I feel like they need to do better with that track in person. So something NBC does from the few IndyCar races I've watched, few IndyCar street course races and road course races I've watched at least, the push to pass, like it'll tell you how many seconds a certain driver has. You don't know that when you're there in person. Like, I didn't know if, Roman Grosjean had any more push to pass left to try and catch power at the end of the race. I did pick it up on the commentary that Alan Bestwick had, but it is hard to hear. Obviously, when the cars are rolling by, you can't hear them really at all. I did hear that he didn't have any, but I had no clue about anybody else, though. Anybody else inside the top 5 if they had any. Because the Jumbotron never showed that at all, like during the race. I feel like that's something that they could show going forward on the road courses and the street courses. Like, I don't know if there was any extra boost, that Will Power had even at the end of the race. And how much of it, if he did have any, or vice versa. Like, that'd be something that I feel like they would need to show. I feel like a lot of people that go to IndyCar races are mostly strictly IndyCar or motorsport fans versus NASCAR races. I feel like can captivate, newer fans at the track because there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I've always wanted to go to a NASCAR race. It's local. I'm finally going to go, whatever. Even if they're not a NASCAR fan, like that just happens. But I don't feel like that really happens with IndyCar. So I feel like it wouldn't really confuse many people of what that is because most people would probably know what it is. Like, I mean, I don't even watch IndyCar that regularly, but I still know what it is. Because I'm a motorsports fan, I can pick up on new things pretty quickly. New details and stuff like that. Well, plus you got to think though, that's the first track Jimmy's been at that he's raced at now a second time. Like every other track he's gone to this year has been a new racetrack. And I think that really helped because it did seem like for most of the race he was running just not a whole lot better than what he would usually run this year, but just a tad, just a sliver better. Harvick locked the brakes up that last lap to get around the next lap car. And Gene Martin, the 107 on his outside into turn 3. Harvick down low, gripping the bottom. 1.3 second lead as Harvick just tries to pull away here late in what has been a dominating race at the Milwaukee Mile. But with Kyle Busch in second, it doesn't look like Harvick's going to grow that big of an extra gap on the point standings at the end of this race, assuming Kyle Busch gets to the end. Plus, Kyle Busch was able to get 5 bonus points. Now, granted, Harvick's got 10 bonus points, so he'll probably outpoint him, at least as they run right now, by 15 points if Busch can't catch him. Wow, that lap car went way up the racetrack, almost completely cut off Gene Martin back there. Kyle trying to close. He wants to give one more shot at Harvick here. Thanks for those of you watching with this being an earlier race today as well. NASCAR Fantasy Podcast coming up next on the channel. followed by our Martinsville Cup race on the NASCAR Heat 5 career mode to cap things off here tonight. Where do I stay? You live 45 minutes from Talladega. I would like to go to Atlanta next year. It's about 2.5 hours from you. Yeah, I mean, I don't have like a specific place. I've been to Talladega twice. I was there last year and I was there this year, and I plan on going again next year. That might be like my annual uh, NASCAR track trip outside of Michigan, because Michigan is only an hour and a half away from me, so it's an easy drive for my home track. But I stayed in Birmingham this year, or closer to Birmingham, because we couldn't really find anything extremely close to the track like I could last year. There were more fans that went to this year's race because of everything starting to open up. So, I mean, it's just kind of like, it's tough. I mean, see, if you live like 45 minutes away, obviously you're going to stay in your own home. Like, not worth getting a hotel. I mean, realistically, if you just stay at the track an hour after the race, the traffic will clear itself. Like, if you don't want to get caught in traffic after the race. Or any sporting event, really, which is why I don't understand why people leave early. Like, I've been to, like, basketball games where they leave with, like, a minute to go in the game, even if the game's tied, just so they could beat traffic. It's like, why? Like, what was the point of even going if you're not going to stay for the finish? When it's close. It's what you asked for. Even if you have to work the next morning. I've had mornings where I've had to work the next day after a game. I'll get my money's worth. I can see if it goes, like, 6 overtimes or something, but... like, come on. Or like a baseball game that goes into, like, extra innings, you know, but if it's a normal, like, 2.5, 3 hour game, you're going into the bottom of the ninth, you want to beat traffic even though, like, the game's tied or they're down one, like, it's like, why? Might see some history or something. But it's like that with NASCAR races. It's not as bad with NASCAR races. I feel like most people stay to the checkered flag, but there are some people that, like I saw a couple people around my section leave when they went under red flag, like in the middle of the red flag, because they just wanted to go home. They didn't want to wait an extra 40 minutes to catch the end of the race, which it's like, you're there all day. You're probably there all weekend. And you're going to leave with 2 laps to go. Like, it's just to beat traffic. They missed some wild stuff, too. Shame on them. Shame on them. And I left right after the race, and I had no problem in traffic. I actually got out of there easier on Sunday than what I did on Saturday, and there were more people there on Sunday. There's definitely a lot more people there on Sunday than what there was Saturday. Like, the infield was packed before the race. I stood in line forever to get my pork tenderloin. I was in line for a good half hour, 40 minutes just to get my food about 2 hours before the race. Oh, I ran into Winval, by the way. I didn't even tell you guys that. I didn't get a picture with him like I did with Danny B. Well, Danny B suggested to get a picture with me. So that's the reason why I even took a picture with him, which, again, is a funny story of itself. But no, I went up to him, just said hi, said, like your work on YouTube, and keep it up. Good luck on the iRace and go forward. He's like, hey, thanks, man. Appreciate it. And just, you know, it is what it is. But I saw him, and I was like, oh, I got to say hi. He was eating his food at a picnic table just behind me. I kind of noticed him when I was in line. I was like, oh, hopefully he's still there when I hop out of line. He was, even though I was in line for like half hour, 40 minutes. So I didn't want to lose my spot because I knew I was going to have to wait longer. I think by the time I got out of line, it was like just over an hour for the start of the race. So if I would have stepped out of line to do that and hop back in, I would have gotten back to my seats probably like, it's still about a half hour before the race started, but it would have been cutting it a lot closer, that's for sure. Definitely don't like doing that. Oh, there's a ton of merch at Indy. definitely want to go to Auto Club next year. They announced it's going to be the weekend after the Daytona 500, though. That's going to be tough for me with going to Daytona. That's a complete other side of the country. And I already live like 15 hours away from Daytona as it is, so I'd have to drive that. Like, that's going to be tough for me to make. I really do want to make it, but it is going to be extremely tough just to get that off of work. But if I can, I will be there. But yeah, there's so many just gigantic tents and buildings that have merch all over Indianapolis. The Hall of Fame's got a couple different shops in there. Like, there's just so much stuff in there. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Even if you're not an IndyCar fan, you got to go into the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Hall of Fame. And even just go into the shops just to look around and stuff, even if you don't get anything, it's well worth it. So much history. It's an awesome facility. And I suggest, even though I haven't been there yet, to go to the Indy 500 if you get a chance someday. If you ever get the opportunity, you got to go. One of these years I will get there. Maybe next year. Who knows? Maybe things will... It'll be tough with going to the Daytona 500. That's where a lot of the money's going next year. But if I can get to both, that'd be... Pull the... instead of the Danica double, will be the Keegan double. I mean, it's only 4 hours from me, so logistically, like, traveling-wise, I can do it. I don't want to... And financially, I have the money to do it. I just don't want to blow the bank at the same time. But if I could put back enough money this winter and stuff that it would be no issue whatsoever, it's going to be... I'd love to do that. I went to the Coke 600 this year, so it'd be cool to see a race on Memorial Day weekend again. Harvick starting to slide away from Kyle Busch again, about a 2.5 second lead. We come to 26 laps to go this time by. Harvick again is pulling away. It's not official yet. Oh, it's not official yet? Well, I know the schedule hasn't come out for next year yet, but I know that that might have... Okay, so it might have been a rumor and not a reliable... See, that's why I don't like looking at rumors, because unless something's, like, fully in detail, like, things could change and stuff. I hope it's not the weekend after the 500. Even if it's just, like, the third race of the year instead of the second, I will definitely go 100%. Like, if they go to Phoenix or Vegas before that out west, then that will work better for me, but which is what I'm hoping. Harvick with a bit of a power slide off turn 2 that last time to get by the lap car. David Green about halfway through the fuel entire stint here. But they'll easily make it on fuel to the end of the race. No problem. 24 to go at the line for Harvick. Just hoping it stays caution-free at this point, which we have been all the way through. This could be the third caution-free race of the first 17 races on this Busch Series season. A 2.4 to 2.5 second lead. Kyle Busch just doesn't seem to have the car Harvick does on the long run. Second half of the tire stint is where Harvick has been pulling away all day today. And honestly, of all 3 different tire stints we've had today, this is probably the least competitive we've seen Kyle Busch. But even though he is young in this game and he's only 18 years old, if anybody can do it, it's Kyle Busch. So we'll see. Even when he was younger, he still had the talent. It's a pretty clean race for Harvick today, and even for Kyle Busch for that matter. And Kyle must have had an issue that last lap of lap traffic, because he's 3.2, 3.3 seconds off the lead now. It was 2.5 seconds a lap and a half ago. I don't know what happened. Yeah, NASCAR better release their schedule for next year pretty soon so I can start planning that stuff out. I still got a few races I'm going to this year, so I don't want to look too far into next year, but I got to at least start to slowly plan them out, like what races I'm going to. So that way I can take the time off and it'd be no issue getting those days off, because taking off as many days as I do for races, I can't like wait till 2 weeks before to do it. Like I have to put it in months in advance, like I did this year, and that's why I was able to get all the days off. Because I was the first one to put in for the day, so I knew I was going to get it off. 3.8 second lead in polling here for Kevin Harvick. Busch might have to hang on to just finish in second place at this point. He's definitely losing a lot of time here late. 19 to go at the line. We'll alternate through the different camera angles one more time in this race here today. Pretty mellow for the most part. A couple near misses. They could have been cautions, but never actually had one. Yeah, I got no major thoughts for myself or opinions with the next NASCAR game coming out. Everything is just kind of well wishes and hopes and dreams at this point. The graphics we know are going to be pretty good, and that's really all we have. There hasn't been any like actual gameplay that's come out yet with the trailer. It's just all been like replay stuff. So we don't know exactly how the physics are going to be and everything like that. So it's just, wait, see until we get gameplay, and or if we don't get gameplay, when I get the game, and I'll get to see for myself. But until then, no real like major input coming out of me. So I don't want to hype it up like a lot of people are, and then have it be let down again. I don't want to fall into that. That's not me. See how it is and let the game speak for itself. I will be getting it still right out of the gate. I will be streaming it right out of the gate, sir. Those will be my raw thoughts, though, those first few days. We're getting through the lap traffic pretty easily. Actually got very fortunate. He didn't have a lot of damage when he got into the back of Craig Miller when somebody blew an engine in front of him and he checked up. $15 to go this time by for Kevin Harvick. 5-second lead. Boy, he has really opened that gap up. About 2.5 seconds in the last 8 laps or so. Fastest lap of the race for Harvick is a 27.624. Last lap was a 28.077. He's about 0.4 of a second off from his fastest time in the race. Underneath Sean Batson in the 157. Trying to make the clean pass on him. He clears him off turn 4. Just a good clean race here for Kevin. Hey, you guys get to have the fan vote for me next season. If you guys vote for me to run as Quinn Houff, I'll run as Quinn Houff. You guys, the fans, get the choice. Any driver. Current driver, that is. I'm not going to use any of the legends for the actual season. Ethan's trying to get the vote for Quinn Houff poll up on the chat. We still got a couple months yet. We still got 2 months till the game comes out. A little over 2 months. Like 9 more weeks. It'll come by before we know it. Which kind of sucks at the same time, too, because that means there's only going to be like 2 NASCAR races left of the season. But Hey, we'll have a lot of new NASCAR content during the offseason. That might actually help the channel if I think about it. Like, we'll have a lot to do during the offseason with a new game. That'll be a lot of fun. Maybe make the offseason a little quicker leading to Daytona. I guess is the nice thing with it. But, hey, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, so Harvick struggled getting through the live traffic at the start of the run. It has definitely mellowed out for him as of late. Over a 6-second lead with 9 laps to go now. And again, barring a caution, Harvick's got this thing in the bag. He's led so many laps today. He's led, by the end of this thing, over 230 laps with ease, maybe 240. Didn't lead every lap like he did at Dodge Raceway, but pretty darn close. Problem is, Kyle Busch was able to lead 2 or 3 laps in there that he was able to get 5 bonus points. And he's still having a good day, finishing in second. So even with Harvick having a dominating performance, Busch right there in second, even if he wasn't contending for the win late. Because nobody else is really contending for the win late. He's going to keep this 21 car, 21 team in front of the championship standings, but he's not really going to gain a whole lot on Busch. Kyle needs to keep that pressure up. We got some wild card races. In fact, the next race is a wild card race as far as season standings go. We'll have 17 races left to crowning a champion. Oh no, the 152 gets into the back of Harvick. Into turn 1, Darrell Bradford just missed the corner. He almost turned the leader. Harvick gathers it back up, picks the speed back up down the back straightaway. Boy, Bradford just missed the corner. That would have been terrible for Harvick. No, I don't plan on doing the Legends. They probably won't even have Derek Cope in the game. Well, they might. I mean, he did run the 500 this year. It's not completely out of the realm. 5 laps to go here at the Milwaukee Mile. Cody Holt, the 56. About to be lapped, I believe, a second time now by Kevin Harvick. Locks the tires up into 3 a little bit, trying to make sure he had them cleared. Drew Campbell in the 131 car just up ahead. 4 to go for Kevin Harvick. Deep dive, almost got in the side of Campbell. It's going to clear him off turn 2 still. 6.5 second lead once again. And Harvick might not even catch another lap car before the end of the race. If he does, he doesn't have to pass him. Drew Campbell going to try to cross Harvick back over. Back to the inside. Now late in the race, it looks like these guys are starting to race the heck out of Harvick again, just like they were about 40 laps ago for some reason. Campbell sends it into turn 1. Harvick tried to block him off. He had him cleared for a moment, but had to move up to make the corner. And looks like Campbell's going to clear him off of turn 2. Harvick going to cross him back over down to the bottom into 3. Coming to 2 laps to go this time by. At least Campbell's racing him clean. 2 to go at the Milwaukee Mile for Kevin Harvick. Just trying to get to the white flag now. And then we'll have our 3rd caution-free race of the season. Quarter tank of fuel left. We'll check the point standings after this one as well. See what that points gap is going to look like for Harvick. Bobby Hamilton Jr. definitely kind of slumped backwards a little bit today compared to recent races. He came in the top 3 in points. Haven't really seen Hornaday at all today, so not sure where he's at in the running order. We do know Bobby Hamilton Jr. is a lap down. Half a mile to go for Kevin Harvick. 1 more corner into turns 3 and 4. One final time. And off turn 4, checkered flag in the air, dominating afternoon for Kevin Harvick. He will win at the Milwaukee Mile, another win this season in the Alan Kulwicki 250. And a burnout victory celebration here for the 21 team. Back in victory lane again this season. What was for the most part a pretty clean race. And pretty good burnout there for the 21 as well, if I do say so myself. Only 5 cars finished on the lead lap in this caution-free event. Harvick led all but 4 laps in the race. 2 led by Kyle Busch and 2 led by Tim Fedewa in the middle of green flag stops. Busch actually cycled ahead of him after those final pit stops with a faster stop and pitting 10 laps before Harvick. He got out about 1.4 seconds ahead of him. Harvick ran him down quickly and passed him, but yeah, that's it. Harvick with the win. Kyle Busch does come up with a close second again. 5 bonus points, good for Harvick. Hornaday, who came in 4th in points, had a quiet but really solid day, finished 3rd after starting further back in the field. David Stremme 4th, and Ashton Lewis, who was fastest in final practice, had a fast car today, didn't compete for the win, but still gets a top 5 finish, last car in the lead lap. First car lap down, Bobby Hamilton Jr. still ended up with a good finish, even though he went a lap down. He finished 6th. Kenny Wallace 7th. Parker 8th, 10 feet to 9th, and J.J. Yaley rounds out the top 10 today. We'll look to see who all DNF for engine failures in this one. Because, again, we didn't have a caution for incident. Just 2 DNFs, Nixon and Ray Westbury. They're the only 2 drivers that failed to finish the race. So, halfway through the season officially now. Take a look at the point standings real quick here. And we'll very soon get on our way. Alrighty. 100 laps at Daytona. That's going to be a wild one in the next race for the Winn-Dixie 250. Might be coming up on the channel tomorrow night, honestly. I think we will run that race tomorrow night. Why not? I have to work tomorrow, so it's likely going to be a Busch race anyway, but yeah, let's do it. And the season standings. So the standings could definitely shake up after the next race. Yeah, Kyle Busch still leading the points, I guess. Kind of forgot about that. We were 33 points back going in. We gained 25 points on him, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, we were 23. My bad. We were 23 points behind him because we gained 15 on him. Beat him by 10, and then we had 5 more bonus points. So, yeah, Kyle Busch still leading the points halfway through the season. Harvick in a close second. Hamilton got a 6th place finish. He's back there in 3rd, but he's only 80 back. Even Ron Hornaday. David Stremme within 200 points. J.J. Yaley barely over 200 now. Then there's a big gap back to Kenny Wallace in 7th. But Daytona coming up, I mean, Yaley's still in it. And even really, Wallace and Dwayne Borland are still in it with Daytona coming up. David Green on back. That's where it gets a little bit tougher. But likely going to be seeing some Cup Series regulars in that race tomorrow night. But it'll be a lot of fun. Like, share, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. That's going to wrap this stream up. NASCAR Fantasy Podcast coming up very shortly on the channel. We'll talk all things Indianapolis Road Course, how the predictions went down, the new updated power rankings, and how my experience was at the racetrack as I was live there, not only yesterday, but all weekend for the IndyCar and Xfinity race on Saturday as well. So all that and more coming up here very shortly, and we'll cap that off after that stream with another stream on the NASCAR Heat 5 Career Mode for the final race of the Round of 8 in Martinsville. A lot to come still here tonight. Again, like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you guys in a little bit.